My name is Yaqub Ali, and you are watching Yaqub Ali Exploration Channel. The assassination of Mahatma Gandhi: Causes and Consequences. His ambitions for India went far beyond the achievement of political independence from colonial rule, as he wanted to root out the political system made by the British. He wanted the people of India to be truly free with social emancipation, economic empowerment, which was absent on purpose in the social and economic system made by the British. He wanted a shared sense of solidarity and empathy transcending multiple identities of language, religion and cultural traditions which the British system had demeaned and even made to look backward and underdeveloped. His values of non-violence, inclusiveness and communal harmony would have enabled India to establish a unique democracy, achieving momentous economic and social transformation which did not happen as we continued to follow the British system. His death made him immortal, but his ambitions, beliefs and values were buried under that immortality. When the rest of India hailed independence, he had mourned its division, which the British had instigated as a last chance to stop or delay giving independence to India. His ideals always remained a guiding light on the power of ahimsa, non-violence, which confused the British because they had not faced anything like that anywhere in the world. British were against his message of non-violence and fierce defense of syncretic India, as it would have created hurdles in continuing the British system for ruling India. It was an attempt to kill his ideas, spirit and message, as that was the only way the British system could have survived in India. It was a culmination of a long process in which different people and different organizations sharing a common British outlook were involved so that they can continue to rule India using the British system. It was made to look the act of a madman so that the blame does not fall on the British system and its supporters. He was a shield between British and the reality of India becoming completely separated from the British and the British system. He was right that the British system was deeply rooted in India. He knew he was right that without uprooting this British system, Indian democracy will be a continuation of the British rule by the Indian representatives elected by Indian people. The British knew he was right that if he was able to uproot the British system, the British will not be able to get the deep-rooted benefits that the system had to offer. The man who killed him knew he was right, as that man wanted the British system to survive. No matter how long the British system continues, it only proves that he was right in wanting to destroy the deep-rooted British system as it has and is being proved to be detrimental to the growth of India. He believed in non-violence to create an Indian system to completely wipe out the British system, and so he was killed with violence, which is one of the core factors of the British system. His non-violence was a resistance against violence that was purposely built into the British system. His struggle was against violence that was caused by the implementation of the British system. He wanted to resist to the last but without violence, so that he could have implemented the Indian system that would have efficiently erased the British system. His whole life he built up the Indian system that offered continuous resistance against all forms of violence that was caused by the British system. His belief that the British and those following the British system who commit violence are weak, at one level even cowards, because they do not know the power of creating wealth but only looting wealth. He believed that lies are often used to justify violence built into the British system, and violence more often than not is a result of conspiracies, whereas his Indian system was based on truth and trust and resulted in growth and prosperity. British and their supporters had planned that violence using the British system. The British system propagated it through the people who wanted to keep the British system to rule India. The British system initiated the violence that was built into it to help rule India. The British system prepared the murderer who killed him and along with him killed his mission of implementation of the Indian system. British and their supporters hid behind the curtains created by the British system when those responsible for his killing were brought to justice. It was a conspiracy to assassinate him to save the British system from being replaced by the Indian system. British and their supporters had strong relations with the murderer and his associates who were part of the British system. The British system was carrying out violent propaganda against him. British, using the British system, wanted to silence him as it was necessary to stop the death of the British system. It was the result of a certain atmosphere of violence and hatred created by the British system that had prevailed in India for many months and years, and more especially in the past few months before his killing. The madman thought that by killing him he would be able to destroy his noble mission and stop the implementation of the Indian system, and he was right. He wanted to fulfill his mission of implementing the Indian system, and only his death could have stopped him. His mission was to implement an Indian system to establish an independent republic that would be secular in nature. His mission was to implement the Indian system in which the individual was to be the paramount and most fundamental unit, and there could be no compromise with the sovereignty of the people. His mission was to implement the Indian system in which no individual or group was to be given preference over another, neither in the name of caste or religion, education or literacy, and equality of every kind was to be the base of Indian Republic. His mission was to implement the Indian system that had to be built on by fighting against all forms of inequality, because India was a society based on British system which focused on multiple inequalities, and the idea of equality was kept absent on purpose. His resistance against inequality that was emphasized in the British system, as well as all forms of untouchability, as it was necessary for the creation of a new independent nationhood. He believed untouchability or separating oneself from others, which was the core of the British system, in any way is discrimination, and it establishes unbreachable hierarchies as can be clearly seen during British rule. The propaganda of hatred or violence perpetuated by the British system against him was due to his active resistance to British and their supporters. The British system was unsuccessful in killing him for last 5 times. His murderer, who was part of the British system, had failed 2 times to kill him before independence. The British system would have died in his republican and secular politics. He was protesting against the transformation of India into a majoritarian nation based on British system. He chose Jawaharlal Nehru as his political successor to implement the Indian system. After his death, Patel set aside whatever reservations he had about Nehru's leadership and served under him until his own death in December 1950, continuing with the British system. British and their supporters wanted to see India beg the British to continue ruling them using the British system and continue to be a government of India to the British Crown. The power from the British transferred to Indian hands, but the British system remained untouched and the Indian hands now continued to follow the British system. He was the kingmaker. If he would have uprooted the British system, he would have become the undisputed kingmaker. Killing him barely 6 months after the transfer of power from British to the Indian hands ensured the stability and continuity in the use of the British system. Remember that the British ruled India single-handedly using a British system that they were able to implement all over the world in different countries they had colonized. British wanted to exhibit themselves as having a fearless British system and are passionate about the ideology behind it and also reap the hidden benefits that it offers. British had deep conviction in the British system and sees it an opportunity to display their talents by leaving the British system implemented even after handing the power to the residents of the countries they had colonized. The British system not only killed the British rule in India but all over the world, and the countries using it have remained impoverished, and India, by following the British system, is going the same way. The only solution is to resurrect the Indian system as envisioned by Mahatma Gandhi and implement it so that creation of wealth begins and looting of wealth stops, and India grows back to its old prosperity where on every branch there lived a sparrow made of gold. If you found this video enlightening, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay updated on our latest videos. Remember, the growth and prosperity of India will start only with the implementation of the Indian system as envisioned by Mahatma Gandhi. Let us make the India that is truly of the people, by the people of India and for the people of India, and stay happily and successfully together. Thanks for watching.